When severe seasonal weather tears through a region, the electrical grid often collapses, plunging tens of thousands of households and businesses into the dark. In the aftermath, regional utility monopolies often reach for a specific legal shield. They issue press releases categorizing these routine blackouts as an act of God. This legal classification shifts the financial burden of the outage from spoiled food to business downtime away from the utility, leaving the community to absorb the costs of a failing grid. The immediate aftermath of a severe storm follows a well-rehearsed corporate playbook. Utilities like AEP Ohio quickly circulate messaging that points the finger squarely at the atmosphere, blaming high winds and lightning for the disruption. The problem with this defense is that summer thunderstorms and high wind fronts are predictable, seasonal routines. They are documented weather patterns, not rare anomalies. Framing this expected grid fragility as a freak natural disaster is a calculated strategy. It protects energy monopolies from public restitution and legal consequences. To understand how they avoid accountability, look at this checklist detailing the legal requirements for force majeure. This exemption is reserved for extraordinary natural events that completely sever operational control. To claim this shield, a utility must prove two things. The event was entirely unforeseeable, and the company exercised ordinary care. Standard seasonal storms fail that first test because they are foreseeable. And when standard weather snaps unmaintained lines, it reflects a history of deferred maintenance, failing the second test. Frequency destroys the defense. Once a weather pattern is expected, failing to prepare for it shifts the legal reality from bad luck to actionable negligence. While utility companies direct public attention towards saturated soil and falling branches, the physical infrastructure tells a different story. Splintered utility poles and cascading wire failures point directly to aging, unmaintained equipment. A resilient grid requires a standard of ordinary care, which means consistent, proactive vegetation management and tree trimming. Instead, utilities frequently let these critical tasks build up into massive, unaddressed backlogs. In June 2022, AEP Ohio intentionally severed power to nearly 250,000 customers during a heatwave. This load shed event was a manual decision by the grid operator to prevent a total system collapse after transmission lines were damaged. These forced shutoffs were executed with little notice, and they disproportionately paralyzed vulnerable, lower-income urban neighborhoods. Whether a neighborhood goes dark because a rotting pole snapped in the wind, or because a control room intentionally severed power during a heat wave, the root cause is the same. These widespread blackouts are symptoms of a chronic structural ailment. Electric monopolies operate under a straightforward regulatory bargain. State oversight bodies grant them exclusive, competition-free service territories in exchange for providing safe, reliable power. But powerful institutions use their massive corporate resources to warp that oversight. Through lobbying and campaign contributions, utilities capture the regulatory bodies meant to govern them, securing relaxed reliability benchmarks and delayed enforcement. When the neglected grid inevitably fails, these companies don't absorb the financial risk. They petition utility commissions to pass emergency restoration costs directly onto consumers. Ratepayers are forced to pay twice. They absorb the economic damage of the blackout, and then their monthly bills go up to repair the fragile infrastructure the utility neglected in the first place. Reclaiming accountability requires dismantling this legal shield. Public utility commissions must explicitly rule that recurring seasonal weather events no longer qualify as acts of God. If a utility fails to meet statutory reliability metrics, the financial penalties and repair costs have to come out of corporate profits and shareholder dividends, not customer surcharges. Consumers and municipalities can bypass standard customer service channels by filing formal administrative complaints. This legally compels monopolies to enter heavily guarded maintenance logs and circuit age data into the public record. And emergency management decisions like forced load shedding require independent structural audits to ensure vulnerable communities aren't sacrificed to protect an underfunded transmission network. Corporations respond to incentives. Forcing repair costs and failure penalties directly onto the balance sheet creates a tangible reason for these monopolies to actually invest in line burial and vegetation management. As climate volatility accelerates, extreme weather is only going to become more common. Blaming the atmosphere for predictable infrastructure failures is an empty excuse. Until regulatory frameworks strictly enforce accountability, monopoly power companies will keep passing the physical and financial risks onto the public, and communities will continue paying the price in the dark.